Every year in the NFL, it's a new team. As far as goals go, we have one. Putting a f***ing ring on our finger.
Welcome to the Buccaneers Observer Podcast. This is Rob Phillips.
I'm Molly Bay.
Today is January 22nd, 2023. How about them apples? All kinds of stuff to talk about, man. We have the horrible performance of the Buccaneers during the playoffs against Dallas Cowboys, the firing of Byron Leftwich, the keeping of Todd Bowles, whether Brady's going to return. Man, we just have a crap load of stuff to talk about.
Everything to talk about.
Everything.
I think this is the first podcast since we had the baby.
Is it?
It is.
No. We had a podcast with the baby in here.
Oh,
I think.
No, we just did our predictions. We did a YouTube. We've been on YouTube. We've not had the podcast.
Yeah. A little bit on YouTube.
So, baby's here.
Baby's here. Get the world prepared. She's been a handful, man.
And Molly is feeling human again, kind of. So we're here.
We are here and not really happy with the whole Buccaneers situation. I don't think anybody is really. Well, I say that, but man, you would think with the access media, those guys are thrilled to death about Byron Leftwich getting fired.
Well, and I think that they've drummed up a lot of the fan base, so I do think a lot of the fan base is happy about. I mean, they were calling. Do you remember? I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. They were calling for Byron Leftwich's head.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning of the season, fans at the beginning of the season when we got off to kind of a slow start offensively, and so I just to me he was the current scapegoat. There's always one.
Yes.
So.
I concur. We had, in case you're not aware, Byron Leftwich has been fired as offensive coordinator with the Buccaneers, along with a bunch of other coaches. Let's see, we got rid of a specialist coach, Chris Boniol. I think he was our wide receivers.
No, Kevin Garver was the wide receiver.
Wide receivers coach Kevin Gardner was released.
Which he was one of BA's guys. He's been here the whole time.
Yeah, all these guys were, right? Jeff Kastl, quality control coach, offensive quality control. Assistant defensive line coach Lori Locust. She was the only defensive person to be fired. That one was weird. I don't know what that's all about. It seems like that's, he's getting rid of a lot of Arians as special people, hand-picked people like Byron Leftwich and Lori Locust. Running backs coach Todd McNair, quarterback coach Clyde Christensen retired. Senior offensive assistant Rick Christophel retired, and offensive linebackers coach or outside linebackers coach, offensive linebackers. Outside linebackers coach Bob Sanders retired. So it's just starting. I think we're going to have probably some more fallout from all of this coming up.
Okay, let's talk about your theory about what happened this year. I think it's probably the best one that I've heard. Not that I'm partial. I'm completely impartial.
You're not biased at all. Yeah, well, to me it seemed obvious, and especially when you listen back to Coach Bowles when he took over the team, he said, well, one, he wasn't going to interfere with the offense, but he did want a more run-heavy approach, and he wanted our time of possession to be longer because he felt that our defense was on the field too much. He wanted them to have more time to rest and be fresh. And he saw the way to do that was to increase the run game. And so from what I saw, we definitely ran not more, but we had a different running. Me and you talked about this all the time with Bruce Arians, that her running was a secondary thing with Arians. his running backs have always been more of an extension of the passing game.
Yeah, they were blockers first. I mean, if they didn't want to block, they were not getting run snaps.
Right.
So Bruce Arians made it very clear early on, you had to earn your rushing attempts by pass protection.
Yes. And same with tight ends. Bruce Arians is not a big tight end receiving guy. Mm-hmm. He was more into tight ends block. Mm-hmm. But the running backs, his thing was you pass protect, and most of the running backs were used a lot in swing routes and stuff in the passing game. He just wasn't. Bruce Arians was never a running back guy, and he said that all the time. And he said he was very adamant about the fact that he would never pay running backs a lot of money, mm-hmm. and he will never ever have a fullback on his roster. Well, this year we drafted O'Keefe, used him as a fullback, and we asked Byron Leftwich, who was an acolyte of Bruce Arians, to adjust his game planning to incorporate more running plays and not just, run the ball straight up the middle or whatever. We did a lot of complex running plays. We were constantly pulling. I mean, it drove me crazy how much we pulled our guards and our center. And we would go out there in jumbo formations. We'd have 3 tight ends or 2 tight ends and an extra offensive lineman, or it just we changed our style on offense to something that Byron Leftwich was not prepared for, and he's not designed for. He's just not a running. He's a quarterback.
He's a quarterback.
He was an ex-quarterback. He was under a quarterback head coach. And
you have the greatest quarterback of all time on your roster.
Right.
Why
focus on running the ball?
Would you focus on running the ball?
Yeah.
I get it. If you have like a Derrick Henry, please, by all means,
yes,
change your game plan to accommodate that. But we did not have a Derrick Henry on our roster.
No, not at all. And I felt that you could definitely see a change in running styles with our running backs this year too. I believe that they told the running backs, because they wanted to tire out the defense with the run game. That was, Todd Bowles made no bones about this stuff when he got hired. And, we directed our running backs to not try to avoid tacklers, but to run into them. We were very much into hitting these guys, make them tackle, make them get tired out. Because you saw it all the time. We would have, they'd get to the outside or they'd get to the second level, and there would be one guy for them to beat. And instead of trying to go around them, they'd run right at them. Mm-hmm. And, I don't think we were using our running game to try to gain yardage. I think we were using our running game to try and tire out the defense. That's why we had these big jumbo packages in there, because we weren't trying to get yardage as much as we were just trying to beat up the defense and tire them out. As we all know, plan didn't work well. As a matter of fact, everything Todd Bowles said he wanted to do coming in did not pan out. We failed at everything that he said he wanted to do. I agree with you. I think that Byron Leftwich was a scapegoat in this. Mm-hmm. Todd Bowles' defense took a step back.
Right. It would have been one thing if it worked. I mean, first of all, our offense, Byron Leftwich's offense was very successful the first couple of years, with the bombs, and it didn't matter that we didn't dominate in time of possession. Like, we could score at will. It didn't matter. But it also didn't seem to matter that the defense was on the field long periods of time. It didn't seem to affect. I mean, they won us the Super Bowl. Right. So right. It seemed like he was trying to fix a problem that didn't exist.
Yes.
Or it wasn't a problem. Mm. Oh, my granddad always told us, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I don't understand. It's almost like Todd Bowles was more married to his philosophy than anything else. And it just, he was solving a problem that didn't exist.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, don't fix it if it ain't broke. And he tried to. And as a result, everything fell apart. Even on the defense, he said one of the things they wanted was more turnovers. Didn't get that. As a matter of fact, we went from 17 interceptions last year to 10 this year. It's almost half.
So bad. And at the beginning of the season, the defensive backs were like, oh, yeah, our goal is 30 interceptions this year. And they kind of came out the gate just killing it as far as that goes. Mm-hmm. And then it was like the same week that the wheels fell off for everybody else. They just quit trying to get interceptions. I mean, we had like a drought in the middle of the season of how many games where we did not have a single turnover.
Yes, it was a long time. It was horrible. This year was just bad all the way around. Going in with such high expectations, and then it was just crap all year. I think there was like 4 good games where I enjoyed watching. Most of them were just disappointing. No.
And confusing, like very,
very, very confusing.
It was like watching, you're like, what is going on? Like, I feel like it's the Twilight Zone or something where, you've taken a team and the very next year it's pretty much the same and they're just complete crap.
Yes. And how does that happen?
I don't.
And like I've said over and over, it's not like it's just one unit. It wasn't like it's the offensive line or the tight ends or the running back room or the receive. It's everybody. It was the whole team. The whole team took a step back. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, you have to say it's on the guy who's in charge of the whole team. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to make any excuses for anybody. Byron Leftwich, never really been a big fan of him. I've felt that he's got the best quarterback in the world, and I think Bruce Arians had more to do with his play calling than they like to let on. Mm-hmm. The running backs, I don't know, just not a big fan of them. I think that everybody had to blame. Tom Brady played like crap this year. He had quite a few games where he was just bad. I mean, that Cincinnati Bengals game, he lost us that game. It was 100% Tom Brady that lost us the Cincinnati Bengals game. So there's blame to go around for everybody. But when you get everybody's bad, mm-hmm. then you have to lay it at the feet of the guy who's in charge of everybody, and that's Todd Bowles. Unfortunately, I feel like, and it's this time of year where it's always kind of depressing. You're just kind of like, that sucked.
I know. We have to watch the other teams in the playoffs move on, and you're like, I'm not there. We're not there.
Yes. But, I can't remember what I was going to say. It's this time of year where it's kind of depressing, and you start to, you point fingers and you mm-hmm. kind of overreact and all that good stuff. But I think that we are in for at least another year of crappy football.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just don't think Todd Bowles is it. He's not. He had all these excuses at the Jets, and now he's coming up with all these excuses here. He's fired Byron Leftwich. Okay, like when we sat out our starters in Week 18 against Atlanta, gave Tom Brady his first losing season, didn't get Godwin his franchise record receptions when he was only a few away, and all that good stuff. And Todd Bowles, and we looked horrible. We looked absolutely like crap, especially in that second half. And Todd Bowles was, his excuse was that, like, most fans were like, well, we don't want to get anybody hurt. Well, I said this on the podcast. I said, if you're going to do that, you better come out swinging in the playoffs. What sense does it make to rest everybody to then come out and not be prepared to get your butt whooped in the playoffs? What sense does that make? Well, makes no sense.
And then it completely contradicts what he said earlier in that week, where he said, oh, if you're scared of injury, you shouldn't be playing this game.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, is he bipolar? Like, he made the case for not sitting anyone and specifically cited the injury excuse and, debunked that, and then he goes and he turns around and uses the injury excuse.
He was playing devil's advocate with himself.
I guess. Right. I don't know. I want to say one thing about the run game, too, is why would you do that in a season where your offensive line, like, yes. You're switching out pieces in your offensive line. I mean, even before the injury to Jensen, you've got 2 new guards, right, who have never played together with the team. And then, we're going to start Aaron Stinney, and then you lose him. And then you go with this. So it just, the scheming, yes. The scheme with the run, it just didn't make sense.
Not at all.
In any respect.
No, it did not. And one of the things, when we put Gedeke in there, nobody knew how he was going to be, right?
And it's a tough position. And especially when you're a rookie.
Yes.
BA had taught, it was Gilbert, the offensive line coach, who said it's a really tough jump to make from college to the pros, because in college you're just kind of a body in the way, and in the NFL they ask a lot more of their offensive linemen.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we had Gedeke come in, and he was supposed to be a backup. Aaron Stinney was going to start. I think it was a battle between those two in training camp.
I think Stinney and Leverett, wasn't it?
Don't know. But when Stinney went down and they put Gedeke in, I was like, okay, let's see what this guy's got. He obviously was not ready. I mean, he did not perform well. And
I don't know what they saw in camp that made them think that he was ready
exactly
for the game.
That's what really was a head scratcher for me, because when they put Leverett in, it was obvious immediately that Leverett was so much better than Gedeke in that position that I was thinking, who the hell is evaluating these people? Because that was night and day.
Yeah. The only thing that makes sense to me is that they were worried about depth at center. And
that's right.
We had Hainsey, we put him in, but then did we have anyone else that could play center? And so maybe they wanted to keep Leverett on the back burner in case anything happened to Hainsey. That was my only thought.
Yes. Well, it makes sense too. But I think, within a couple of games of seeing Gedeke play, they should have been like, oh, okay, well, we'll just have to burn the center bridge when we get to it, because... Or,
just set him up for success. Quit asking him to do too much.
Yes, gosh, they do that. They did it. Let's say they did it.
And that is Bruce Arians' philosophy, too, next man up. So,
right.
I'll cut Todd Bowles a little bit of slack here, but I just...
Yeah, they did. In the playoff game against Dallas, they had Gedeke in, Ryan Jensen, his first game back, and... Yeah, so they had Gedeke in and Ryan Jensen beside each other. And the first play of the game, they had Gedeke pulling and O'Keefe coming behind him in the fullback position. And I don't know what happened, who screwed up there. I'm pretty sure it was Donovan Smith. But he ended up following Gedeke. But Donovan Smith never pulls. He never goes across the line. But he ended up doing it in this one. And they left Michael Parsons completely free, and he ended up coming and getting a tackle for a loss. And I'm thinking, why in the world would you've got Ryan Jensen back in his first game all season, and you've got Gedeke, who we know was the weakest link in the offensive line when he was playing, and you're immediately going to have him pulling on the first play for a run? Yeah,
we're going to start off the game like that?
Yeah, I was just like, that was just bad. That was just bad.
So is that on Byron Leftwich, though?
I would assume.
I mean, he's calling the plays there.
Right. And there's so much, and a lot of it's speculation, but, I kind of got the sense that Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles were not working together very well, if that's the word we want to say. I think they didn't like each other. And I think that Leftwich was really kind of pissed about the whole running thing. Todd Bowles said that the screen game and these passes to the flats and the lateral the passes were an extension of the run game. And so I think he had Byron Leftwich doing those a lot, and I don't think Byron Leftwich liked it a whole lot. Byron Leftwich, he wants to, what am I saying, lateral or
vertical?
Vertical, yeah, he's a vertical player. He wants to go down the field. Our passes beyond 15 yards this year were scant. Our throw, we didn't even try to throw deep a lot, and we had a couple games where we didn't have any deep passes, and it's just not how this offense is going. You
have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, right. Julio Jones.
Right.
I mean, we could keep going.
Right.
And Tom Brady.
Yes, I think Byron Leftwich he felt hamstrung, and he was kind of being stubborn, doing all these formations where it was obvious we were going to run. He was running on first down all the time just to kind of get it out of the way. He would run coming out of the gates and then not run the rest of the game. It was a mess.
And I wonder too, this is pure speculation also, was there resentment that BA picked Todd Bowles to move up to head coach and not Byron? Because Byron...
There's no way Byron Leftwich could be head coach.
I mean, he got shafted by Jacksonville,
that's right. Yeah,
in the offseason.
But I thought he said he didn't want to go there because he wanted them to fire the general manager, and they said no, so he said no, and he came back to the Buccaneers.
I don't know.
There's no way. I mean, I'm sorry, Byron Leftwich is just not ready to be a head coach.
I don't think so either. But what if? I mean, he's BA's protege.
You're right. Yeah, that's a good thought.
So who knows? I don't know. Pure speculation, but
yeah, and it could have been. A lot of the coaches might have been kind of pissed.
Yeah.
They got looked over or whatever. I don't know. I always got the impression that this was how it was always going to be. When Arians was ready to go, Bowles would take over. I always thought that was the plan. Everybody knew it. But, you might be right. I don't know. But
it does seem like there's something there where those two, I mean, clearly if Todd Bowles felt the need to fire him, it didn't appear that they worked well together.
The Scott Reynolds from the Pewter Report did a podcast after the firing, because they came out, I think it was Sunday night after the game or Monday morning, and said that Leftwich is going to be fired. And they've been calling for Leftwich to be fired since mid-season at least.
I can't stand that about them. They've always been like that, for years.
Just fire this person.
Yeah,
fire this person.
I mean, they drum it up forever. They got us Lovie Smith, too. So I've never forgiven them for that.
Right.
So, I don't like that mentality. It's just, it doesn't...
No, that's...
we fired Leftwich. Now what?
Right. So
half of our offensive staff is gone. A lot of our players are probably going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So what? We're rebuilding offensively? Who? I don't want to do that. Do you want to do that?
No.
How long does that take?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a mess to me.
Yeah, and going along with the whole, if you're going to rest your starters in the last week of the season and, get a losing record and all that, you better be ready and you better come out swinging in the playoffs, which we didn't do. Same thing with this. If you're going to fire your offensive coordinator, you better rock it next year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you
better be right.
Right, exactly. I mean, who's going to be held accountable if our offense is even worse next year?
Yeah. Nobody, because then they'll go, it was a rebuild year.
Right.
And you get another excuse.
Right. Which is what I'm worried about. Because like I said, the same thing happened in New York, the Jets, when Bowles was there. He had 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years. And he fired one because the guy was too pass happy. So you're like, you can't just scapegoat your way through coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm worried that that's what's going to happen here. I feel like it's already happening. And we saw it with Todd Bowles' press conferences. Todd Bowles was always saying, we got to execute better. We got to, we didn't play the way we wanted to. And every now and then he would throw in we got to coach better too. But you kind of felt like he was saying that because he felt like he had to.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you.
It's the script.
Right, yeah, the coach speak. But I do feel like with Bowles, whereas with Arians, it was true, honest, and accountability. With Bowles, I always feel like he's scapegoating. It's never Bowles. It's never his scheme or his players or whatever. It's always somebody else's fault. But I'll tell you, I watched the All-22 from the Dallas game, and I said in our podcast afterwards that did we do a podcast?
No, this is our first podcast.
Instant reaction.
Did it, yeah. Ralph, very active on YouTube. The podcast kind of taking a back burner. But so Ralph had a video afterwards.
Instant reaction. And I said in there that they didn't beat us, we beat ourselves. We had blown coverage, missed tackles, and all that good stuff. And yes, we did do that. There's no doubt about it. Our missed tackling was horrible. Devin White is aggravating. And we had blown coverage too. Really, really bad ones. I mean, just fundamental error blown coverages. But we got out-coached bad.
Which is sad because we went up against Mike McCarthy.
Yes. And Dan Quinn. And I don't know why anybody hasn't talked about this. And I think it's probably because everybody's so excited about Byron Leftwich getting fired that, we're already looking forward to next season, see who we get. It's like getting new toys on Christmas. You forget about your old toys. We got out-coached bad. Just from what I saw, I've only seen the defensive side of things, but they picked our defense apart. And they did some really nice stuff I was just like, ooh, that was pretty. There's nothing our players could have done. It was almost like they knew what our defense was going to do, and they had the schemes to beat it. And they did. I mean, they had so many big plays on us. They just did whatever they wanted to on offense. After the first couple of series, they were just like boom, 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 boom. And, nobody's talking about that. Our defense got blowed out in every way you can think of. We missed tackles. We had sure interceptions that went right through guys' hands. We had guys that were in perfect coverage, and those guys, the receivers, still caught the damn ball. We had our guys tip the ball in their hands and knock it out of their hands, and they still were able to catch it. But there was also a lot of plays, which I'm going to show in the Tiffy videos, where their routes just smoked our coverage, man. It was just like they had schemes prepared specifically for certain types of defenses we run, and they just killed us. But you're not hearing that from anybody. Our defense got trounced out there.
And it was exactly what we feared it was going to be. I mean, it's what we've seen all season.
Yeah.
It's the same team that showed up all season.
Yep.
How we got 8 wins, I don't really know.
Tom Brady's 2-minute comebacks.
I know. And then, we all prayed that this was the team that a different team would show up. And it didn't.
Yeah, right.
It was the same it's the crap we watched all season.
Yes. And you gotta go, when you have a team with this much talent. I mean, people talk about, we lost Ali Marpet, we lost Rob Gronkowski, we lost Antonio Brown, we lost JPP, we lost Ndamukong Suh. Who else? Kappa, we lost Kappa. And they're saying that's a major reason why we didn't perform well this year. We still had a great team. I mean, our offensive line, once Gedeke was replaced with Leverett, our offensive line was good. I wouldn't say it was super great, but it was above average. And, I'd give him a B. Leverett, when he stepped in, he really played well. And he helped out a lot, both the center and Donovan Smith. And when he came in, you had Shaq Mason, who played just solid all year long. You had Tristan Wirfs, who, of course, is Tristan Wirfs. So then it became Hainsey. It was kind of a toss-up between Hainsey and Donovan Smith as the weak links in the chain.
Mm-hmm. Donovan really regressed, it felt like, this season.
Yeah. He played really like he, again, kind of reverted back to that slothfulness. Yeah. And that's where the holding comes from a lot, where he just he has this attitude of, I don't care. Yeah, it's laziness. Yeah. So, our offensive line played decent. Antonio Brown, everybody makes it out like he was a big factor. He was never a big factor on this team. I mean, when he played, he did some good stuff. He was a threat, but he didn't play a lot. You got to remember, he didn't come in until late in 2020.
Yeah, we didn't sign him.
No, he was suspended until week 8, 9, something like that.
Yeah. And then the 2 following seasons, he was injured.
Yeah. So he didn't play that much. Mm-hmm. And we won without him. Rob Gronkowski, it's a different story.
I think that's the biggest difference. Yeah. I would say. I think we did miss Gronk.
Yes. Could definitely say
because no one really ever stepped up in the tight end room.
No.
I mean, Kyle Rudolph, how many games was he inactive?
Right. Yeah, he was not not a factor at all this year.
And then Brait with his injuries. And
Cade Otton did well.
I like Cade, but he was inconsistent.
Yeah, exactly. Very much so. Mm-hmm. So, we did have a drop in talent and all that, but not near enough to justify half as many points scored a game. Nowhere near. I mean, it was just, it's really impossible to explain. It really is. It's just everybody just took a huge step down, and, Tom Brady was not playing well. Mike Evans didn't play well. Godwin was coming back from injury. It took him most of the year to get back to probably 80%. Julio Jones didn't play well. Russell Gage didn't play well. I mean, he had some games that were good, but he was not a game breaker. On defense, good Lord, we missed JPP and Ndamukong Suh so bad. But Shaq Barrett, look at our outside linebackers. We started off with Shaq Barrett, and we had Jannard Avery, Tryon, Nelson, O'Connor. We got Nassib later in the season, right? Mm-hmm. And we had Cam Gill. And we ended the season with Tryon, Nelson, and O'Connor. Yeah. And we had Barrett, Avery, Gill, and Nassib were basically hurt. Mm-hmm. And Tryon didn't do anything. I mean, he's out there trying, but and he puts some moves on some guys. I mean, he does some nice spin moves and all that, but it's like after that, he doesn't know what to do. And he missed more sacks than he got sacks. Mm-hmm. He would fly right by guys or get thrown off. I mean, he's an undersized guy, but
did he remind you of Quan Alexander? Quan was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Kind of
shoot right past guys.
Yeah. Yeah. He was very eager and had a lot of energy, but just.
Yeah. And I think we reverted our style on the defensive line because Bruce Arians' philosophy on defense was always rush the passer and stop the run on the way. And it appeared to me that Todd Bowles switched the philosophy to stop the run first and then go after the pass. Because I can't tell you how many times I saw our whole defensive line stand there until they saw that it was going to be a passing play and then start moving forward. Or, when we had these RPOs, they would always go after the running back. Always. And it was frustrating. Like Tryon would come blazing in and he would tackle the running back while the quarterback is 5 yards away with the ball. Out there getting ready to throw a pass. This happened so much this year. And I think it's because they changed the philosophy from rushing the passer first and stopping the run on the way to stop the run first and then go after the passer. Anthony Nelson, totally disappointed in his performance. The same with Tryon. Both of them just really didn't do anything. Nelson had a few good plays, but one of the things about Shaq Barrett that I've talked about ever since he came here, as a matter of fact, when we got him in free agency and I went back and I looked at all of his game film, I said, this guy never messes up. He never makes mistakes. Mm-hmm. And he's always going to give you at least one elite play a game. That's what I saw. Every time I watched him, I was like, he wasn't a starter, but for a little while at Denver. But every time he was in, he just did not make mistakes. And that's a huge thing, with me, especially. That's what I like, players that don't make mistakes, because that's usually how you lose games, is making mistakes. And Barrett just doesn't make mistakes. He's always in position. He's always doing what he's supposed to do. And he's always doing above and beyond what he's supposed to do. But he always does what he's supposed to do. He rarely falls for tricks. And, he always goes after the right guy. And he always keeps containment and all the things you're supposed to do in his position. This year, we didn't have none of that. None of that. These guys were constantly falling for every, RPO, play action, bootleg, roundabout, trick play. Mm-hmm. Really, it was Levante David that kept us from getting blown out by every trick play that was thrown at us.
He's so good at those.
Oh, God, he's great. He reads that shit so good.
Yeah.
That one play he did against Carolina was amazing. I still don't know how he did it. I do not know how he did it. I want to make a video just on that play. He read, they were throwing a screen pass to the left, and Sam Darnold wound up. They had everybody going left, and Sam Darnold pump faked left and then turned around, and the running back in the center shot out to the right, and Sam Darnold threw it to the running back, and David was right there and tackled him for a tackle for a loss. But if you watch it on the game film, David read that play even before the running back in the center pulled and before Darnold turned around. I do not know what he saw there, but it was amazing. I mean, he was over there. He almost caught the ball before they threw it. Because they didn't expect anybody to be over there.
Yeah.
And Levante David was over there, but he started running over to the right side of the field, his left, before the play was even halfway through. It was amazing. But anyhow, David's very good at that stuff, and he saved us a lot this year from just getting totally blown out with those trick plays. But Anthony Nelson and Tryon, they're just not it. They're just not it. Mm-hmm. And Nassib's okay. He's a good rotation guy. But anyhow, we ended up this year with no pressure on quarterbacks. Against Dallas, we got nothing. I mean,
and how do you even do that with Vita Vea?
Yeah, right. I know.
On your defensive line.
Yeah, he was one-on-one most of the time with Dallas, and they just kept him shut down. He started off really good. Mm-hmm. Our whole defense did, but then I don't know what happened.
So Todd Bowles has said, and Pewter Report had an article about Todd Bowles is saying he has got to change the culture with the Buccaneers organization, which is baffling.
It is baffling.
Baffling. Yeah. Because BA came in here. He already did that.
Yeah.
BA did that 4 years ago. What happened to the culture this year that we need a culture change all of a sudden? Right. I mean, it's all the same people. Why do we need a culture change? And I think my theory is these guys that we lost, the Gronks, Sue, JPP, they were our culture setters. And
JPP definitely.
Well, I think Sue deserves credit for Vita's performance in the last few years, since he came in the organization. Because I just think, some people are like that. Some people have that, your work bestie, and you're like, they just elevate you, you know. And Donovan Smith, I think, we could say the same thing about him with, I mean, that's kind of a different circumstance. Allie retired. But I wonder how much of that had to do with Donovan's regression this year. And I just, and then you have Tom Brady, who lost Gronk, his security blanket that he's known for years and, played with, and they just have this special relationship. And so I just think BA appreciates those kind of relationships, those kind of guys.
Very much so, yeah.
And understands what they do for a culture.
Yes. And
Todd Bowles does not.
Yes.
Todd Bowles is, I don't know that he's necessarily a clipboard carrier, the stats guy.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the clipboard carrier, it's just, you put in whoever, you plug them in, you take away Sue, you put in Akeem Hicks because he's faster. He's great too, same position, you put him in and you expect the same amount of production. Right. And and you're baffled when it doesn't work.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So it just, I'm not optimistic about that, perspective, and that, Todd Bowles, he's got to fix the culture. I don't think he can.
No, I don't either. No. I agree with you there. Going back to the offensive line, I meant to say this earlier. Ali Marpet last year did not play well. Mm-hmm. I talked about that he took like every year he started getting a little bit worse. But last year he did not have a good year. And I think,
but didn't he have that injury and then he came back and was not kind of not the same?
Yeah, but you could just tell his heart wasn't in it, and then he ended up retiring, and I was like, yeah, kind of, in retrospect, you could see it now, but he struggled last year. So losing him was not that big of a deal because he really wasn't that great last year. And Kappa, I've always said Kappa was the weakest link in our offensive line. Losing him and replacing him with Shaq Mason was a definite upgrade. Mm-hmm. So I would say, beside Hainsey, replacing Jensen with Hainsey, our offensive line was actually better this year than it was last year.
But I would say that the rapport wasn't there that they had last year.
I don't know.
I just think that, you had Donovan Smith and Allie, who are BFFs since they've been here. And then Ryan Jensen, who had a great relationship with Tom Brady. I think he really set the tone for the room. And, Kappa was kind of an acolyte, I think, of that attitude that Jensen had. And then you had Tristan Wirfs come in, kind of the nice guy, but definitely an anchor over on the right side. Mm-hmm. So I just think that the chemistry was different last year than it was this year. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have the time, I think, to build that chemistry, especially with the injury to Stinney. Who knows if Stinney hadn't been injured, what the line would look like. Right.
But you can't blame the offensive line this year. You can't do it. And, I'm hearing a lot of people say that our offensive line sucked and all that good stuff. No, not at all. We've seen bad offensive line play. Mm-hmm. This year was not it. We did have instances, and, Hainsey, he's a decent center, but he's not the best in the world. I would much rather see Jensen in there, of course. But, he did okay. You can't blame the offensive line. You could definitely see with Tom Brady, he was scared this year. He was worried about getting hurt. I don't know what it was that happened with him. I
think his shoulder.
We saw he definitely came into camp. He lost a lot of weight. He was gaunt. Lost a lot of muscle tone. I think he was thinking about getting hurt more this year than he probably ever has. It's one of the things that when I did the evaluation, looking at the game film between him and Jameis Winston back when we got Tom Brady, that I was amazed at the difference in, because Jameis Winston always felt phantom pressure. And anytime he felt pressure, he would use his feet. He would go, whether the pressure was there or not. And you see that a lot with quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady would never do that. he would stand there if there was a guy coming barreling in at him, 300-pound defensive lineman coming at full speed. Tom Brady would stand there and throw the ball and take the hit. He wasn't doing that this year. When he was feeling pressure, he was pulling that ball down, and either trying to these weak scrambles or just trying to protect the ball and just going down. He did that a lot more this year than he has in years past. But it wasn't the offensive line. I just want to throw that out there. Offensive line was not our issue this year. Of all the things we can complain about, they aren't the ones. Now, their run blocking could be better. Those are dang sure. But that goes with the fundamentals across the whole team. You were talking about how Todd Bowles, whether he's a clipboard carrier or whatever, that's one of the reasons why I say he's a clipboard carrier, because he really, really focuses on his schemes. His complex ass defense he's got. He loves just mixing everything up all the time. But one of the things you can tell that he doesn't focus on the actual, the fundamentals, the tackling and stuff like that, which is kind of a telltale from clipboard carriers to, the football guys, is guys, the whole defense will tackle the same way, because they really focus on tackling. And here's how we want you to tackle. And this is the tackle, and you see teams that they tackle well, they all tackle the same way. Our defense, they all tackle differently. We don't practice tackling. And we don't practice blocking either. In the offense, they all block different too. It's weird. So, yeah, we don't practice fundamentals. I think we have the philosophy, which you get that a lot with clipboard carriers, is they're like, that's the fundamentals. If you don't know how to do that this far in your career, you shouldn't be out here on the football field. We're not going to waste time on that. We've got to spend all of our time on all these complex schemes. So.
Which I get that in theory.
Right.
But sometimes it's needed.
No, it's definitely needed with us. We had way too many. Our tackling was crap this year. I hated it. But then again, we've kind of complained about that ever since Bowles been here.
Yeah.
Our tackling. This year, it really cost us quite a bit. Against Dallas, it was one of the reasons why we were just horrible all the way around in that game. It wasn't a single good.
And it's so embarrassing. We're on the national stage, and everyone's watching us because Tom Brady. It could be Tom Brady's last game,
right? And Dallas Cowboys. Everybody watches
Dallas. Exactly.
How do they have a fan base after not performing well for 25 years?
Can I just say, I can't wait to see them get trounced by San Francisco today. I cannot wait.
I think everybody's going to get trounced by San Francisco.
Yeah.
So
okay, so let's talk about potential offensive coordinator candidates.
Yes, we had a viewer ask us a couple of weeks ago, and it's been on my list to get around to. But he had asked if we could discuss what if Leftwich is fired, but Bowles is not, who would be some good candidates to become the Buccaneers' new offensive coordinator, with the caveat of no hiring from within. This was from...
Interesting. That's an interesting
UNC
caveat.
Vigilante?
Okay. Uncle
Vigilante,
Vigilante.
but not UNC. Uncle Vigilante, yes.
Go ahead.
I've got two guys, three actually, but two, and nobody's going to agree with me on this.
You're going to get the hate in the comments.
Yeah. I really like Cliff Kingsbury. Unfortunately, he's in the Philippines right now. He's taking a break from football. He's going to go out there and meditate guru for a while.
Get him a Filipino wife. Bring back.
He's got the do not disturb sign up on his everything, his phone, he's just disappeared off the face of the earth.
That's a new one. Like Lovie Smith disappears to his basement to watch film for a year.
Yeah, right.
So I heard that one.
Well,
going
Kingsbury,
halfway across the world.
He needed it, man. He had a rough time at Arizona.
Yeah, I didn't understand. It seemed like when they got Kyler Murray, That's when it all started going downhill.
Yeah. Well, Kyler
What
Murray
a drama queen.
He's a little full of himself, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But I really, really, really like his.
What do you like about him?
He's a number of things, but the two of these guys that I got on here mainly because they are not scheme guys. They play to what they have.
Okay.
They fit their system to the players they have. Mm-hmm. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a great offensive mind. He did a lot of stuff that I think elevated the Arizona Cardinals offense above and beyond what they were capable of.
And Kyler Murray is a unique player.
Yes, very.
So I can see your point where he adapted the offense to him.
Yes. And I just like a lot of the stuff they did. I would like to, we've had so many years, well, actually forever, we've never had an innovative offensive coordinator.
I don't know, like Dirk Cutter.
Dirk Cutter, I love Dirk Cutter, and I'm going to talk about him in a second.
He's not coming back.
No. He was really an offensive mastermind, but he was not
he was not a head coach. He's not head coach material.
No, not at all. He was not a when I say innovative, I'm talking about, like all these trick plays and unusual stuff. Cutter was a master at scheming guys open, and I mean, he was just incredibly good at it. I really wish we could have seen Dirk Cutter in the offense with Tom Brady as quarterback. That would have been incredible. But
I'm sure he wishes that too.
We've never had an innovative offensive coordinator. And I'd like to see Cliff Kingsbury because he's very innovative. He was very, always coming up with new crazy stuff, kind of like Andy Reid does, and it's Andy Reid. I don't care what anybody says. It's not.
Mahomes.
No,
Michael Jordan.
No.
Bieniemy.
It's not Bieniemy. It's Andy Reid because he did the same crap at Philadelphia, and he's just very innovative. He likes to design crazy stuff, and players enjoy that. Players enjoy the fun of going out there and trying crazy stuff. So Cliff Kingsbury would be my number one choice if we could get him.
Okay. Next.
I don't think we will, though. I think we're going to get a run-heavy offensive coordinator who's going to be subservient to Todd Bowles' wish to run the football.
Yeah, and that's kind of the sense I got from it, too, was that Todd Bowles wanted, even though he's a defensive mind, he wanted input over the offense, and I don't know. Stay in your lane. That's how I feel about that. No, you're not an offensive guy.
Okay, my second guy, which I'm going to get a ton of crap for this one, I'm sure, is Mike LaFleur. He was the Jets offensive coordinator.
Matt LaFleur's brother.
Matt LaFleur's brother, both GQ models. So I want him here just so we can put him on posters.
Ralph wants a poster.
Now, I was very impressed when we played them last year with the way he adjusted the offense to his players. And they played very good football, very sound, solid football. But again, it was very innovative at the same time.
Unfortunately, he has said he's not leaving the Jets, right?
No, he got fired.
Oh, he got fired.
Yeah.
I thought somebody asked to interview him and he declined.
Yeah, then he got fired.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they really stopped.
That's messed up.
Actually, I don't know if he got fired.
Now that you say that, I think he did.
Yeah, but again, he's one of those guys who adjusted his scheme to the players available, which we're going to need that because honestly, I don't think Tom Brady's coming back. I don't know, but I would if I was him.
No.
But we're going to need somebody who can mold or who can not come in rigid scheme and try to fit their guys into it. We got our players. We got Mike Evans. We got Chris Godwin. They're both physical football players. They're not run after the catch guys. They're not going to juke open. They're going to fight for the ball in traffic, and they're going to go down shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
They'll fight for a little bit for a few extra yards, but that's it.
Yeah.
You've got to work within those parameters.
You got Lenny. He's under contract for another 2 years.
Yeah.
It's a physical back.
Yes. I would like to see Brian Callahan, the Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator, but I think he's going to go to a head coaching position, if anything.
Yeah, that you don't see often like the lateral.
You're not going to get lateral,
move.
right?
Yeah,
unless they were fired, then you could pick them up on the cheap. But he's another one of those guys who Cincinnati they just don't make mistakes. Mm-hmm. They're very solid in what they do. To cheat a little bit here, Harold Godwin, our current assistant, Goodwin, our current assistant head coach, I could see him being put in the offensive coordinator position.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
He was offensive coordinators for the Cardinals with Bowles, when Arians was head coach.
Yeah, and he was assistant offensive coordinator with us. Mm-hmm. Him and Byron kind of split those duties, which why he wasn't fired too.
Right. Yeah. Very strange.
Especially because he was our run game coordinator.
Right. And what about our offensive line coach?
Yeah.
Why is he still around? I don't know. If they're going to bitch about the running game. Don't know. Scapegoat. Everybody's talking about Todd Monken coming. He's currently a head coach in college. He was the offensive coordinator when Dirk Cutter was here. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know who was in charge of coming up with those game plans, but they were great. Dirk Cutter called plays, if I recall.
I think so.
Correctly. I think it was Dirk Cutter that was kind of in charge. So with Todd Monken, I don't know. I don't follow college, so I don't know what he's doing over there, and I don't know if it's anything like what we did here. But it'd be great if that was what he brought here, what we had with Cutter. But who knows who our quarterback's going to be if they're going to be able to do that, because you have to have a very smart quarterback that can read the field.
I know. What the hell are we going to do there?
Yeah, I don't know. But
I think this offseason, I'm just going to curl into the fetal position and cry.
It's going to be a tough one.
Y'all know I don't do well with change, so this is rough.
The issue I have with Todd Monken coming back is the issue I have with any coach or player coming back. It just never seems to work out. It's whether it's subconsciously or consciously, they're upset about being fired. And you bring them back. We saw what happened with Lovie Smith. And I said that when we hired, I was like, this is not a good idea, because no matter what you say, subconsciously in the back of your head, you're thinking, yeah, F these people. They didn't want me the last time. They fired me. I'm going to take my revenge out. It might be subconscious, but it's there.
And we've seen how petty Lovie Smith is.
So, with Todd Monken, I'd prefer not to go that route.
Yeah, it's a risk.
Yeah. So that's what do you think? Who would you like to see?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to coordinators like that.
So that
I think because it's hard, I think, to discern like how much of it is the offensive coordinator, how much of it is the head coach. I don't know. It's just, or the players, or
yes, especially when you got one of those weird situations where you got an offensive head coach who also has an offensive coordinator, but the offensive head coach is calling plays.
Yeah. And whose playbook is it?
Right. That's kind of one of the things with Byron Leftwich. How much was Arians? How much was Brady? And again, we talk about all the running. They ran almost the exact same amount as they did last year. We didn't increase our running, but we had our output was horrible. Mm-hmm. We were running. We had like 4-point-some yards per game last year. This year we were down like 3.2 per carry. It was horrible. But again, we talk about that, but who was in charge of it? We know that Brady can call a run play if he wants to up there. So, was he not calling run plays when he should have, or calling run plays? I don't know, man. It's just, I felt Byron was the scapegoat. Honestly, I'm not upset about it whatsoever. I'm just worried that
it's just not going to make a difference.
It's not going to make a difference, yes.
Or it's going to be a net negative.
Right, yes. That's how we always feel when when people get fired.
Because just the unknown is really
But if we were to get Cliff Kingsbury, which I don't think we will, because like I said, I don't think Byron's looking for that type of coach.
He's in the Philippines anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, well, who knows? He might take a year off or so.
He's going to come back with like long hair, looking like Ralph with the beard and the hair.
Or Aaron Rodgers, all like taking the ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah. Spend off season in the mountains.
Yeah.
The shaman.
Become Buddhist. Yes, so there you go. I'm going to have to continue with the All-22. So I'm going to get the All-22 finished and done. A lot of interesting stuff so far already. I can't comment on the offense yet because I haven't watched the offense. But,
it's probably not great.
No, I know it's not really great. Yeah. So, keep an eye on that. Everybody, if you haven't already, go to the YouTube page, check stuff out. We got content there too. Anyhow, you ready to watch this Dallas 49ers
am.
game? Yeah.
I can't wait.
You got anything else to say?
I do not.
I've got a ton more to say, but we just don't have time to say.
We'll do another podcast next month.
No. We'll get on a better routine now that we got the baby done. So baby's out and ready to conquer the world. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. Till next time.
Go Bucs.